Now,
on News Talk 105.9 WMAL.
O'Connor and Company.
It's 8:06 now on O'Connor and Company, and we're all fired up, ready to take you up to 9 o'clock when Chris Plant will take over. I just saw Michael Piercy, Chris Plant's producer, getting everything set up for the big man when he gets here.
Yep.
It's very exciting. He has a lot of duties that he has to perform.
Me
to
too.
accommodate
I have to
Mr.
Windex
Plant.
the whole thing.
Oh, I know. We're all
disinfect.
It's Chris Plant's world we're just living in.
Yes.
Coming up in 30 minutes, we're going to talk about the rising homicide rate in D.C. Worst since the crack era, says the Washington Post. Chuck Thies will join us to discuss that. But right now, we've got one of the best and true gentlemen, Byron York, chief political correspondent for the Washington Examiner. Good morning, Byron.
Good morning, Larry.
So Chris Christie called Donald Trump Donald Duck, and I pretty much think that's the game changer. He's got the nomination, right?
I thought the single most excruciating moment we've had in a debate for quite a while. And the serious way I think of looking at it is I thought it completely undermined the entire premise of Chris Christie's presidential campaign, which of course is to attack Donald Trump. Yeah. And he does it with such a groaner, that everybody just goes, "Oh, please."
Right, that's the best.
So I think he actually hurt himself by making a really stupid canned joke.
Yeah, and DeSantis actually called Trump out as well. I thought in a much better way, saying, "Look, you kind of owe it to the voters to lay out your plans."
Yeah, I think it was really interesting. What we've seen is, the first debate, the one in Milwaukee last month, really did help clarify the race. That we saw Nikki Haley really came out ahead. Vivek Ramaswamy made a big impression. Ron DeSantis sort of hung on. Everybody else didn't do all that great. And so the second debate was going to be: is it going to continue clarifying and maybe even re-ranking the whole race? And I don't believe it actually did. It was not a terribly edifying debate. It had its moments, but while all this is going on, Donald Trump has actually been solidifying, hardening, increasing his lead in the race. So the race is basically a bunch of challengers chasing Trump. And the question is, did they get any closer last night? And I don't think so.
And Byron, for that matter, Mr. Trump going to Michigan, which is an incredibly important state, speaking to a mix of striking UAW workers and, yes, some non-union workers who happened to be at that factory where he was speaking, talking about Biden policies. And more importantly, I think this moment,
the only time Joe Biden has ever gotten his hands dirty is when he's taking cash from foreign countries, which is quite often, actually.
I was kind of surprised not to hear any of that on the stage. Today, we begin an impeachment inquiry, Byron. I know that you are already plugged in and ready to go on that, and your coverage, your great coverage, I look forward to seeing. Why didn't they talk more about Joe Biden and the obvious fact that there is serious questions about whether he has committed high crimes and misdemeanors and bribery?
Well, consider the context here. I mean, Trump is out by himself speaking as a candidate, and in his case, a former president, and the others are seven people on a stage, fighting it out for the privilege of taking on Trump.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's just the general context. Also something about Trump. I went to cover his rally in Summerville, South Carolina, which is a suburb of Charleston. I guess it was earlier this week. I think it was on Monday. And it was his speech, his presentation, everything was really very, very substantive. It was the economy. It was a lot of proposals that he would have for a second term. I mean, his fundamental message to the people who were listening was things were really good when I was president. Everything went to hell when Joe Biden became president. Elect me and I'll make it good again. I mean, that's the message. And it was supported actually with just a lot of policy talk. And what's interesting is that there was almost no news coverage of of what he said. I mean,
Yeah.
that day before his speech, he had actually visited a gun store and he had admired a special edition Glock. And almost all of the news coverage was Trump looking at this Glock and then saying, well, he can't buy it because he's under federal indictment. And, you know, that was like the news coverage of that. And I'm listening to the speech and talking to everybody at the rally, and it was a very, very substantive presentation that is absolutely flying beneath the radar from a man who's the most covered human being on the planet.
Yeah, but the voters, I think, do actually get it. They see it. And we saw it's like it's 2016 all over again. Hey, Byron, while I've got you, because I'm not just saying it. You'd have known me long enough to know I'm sincere. I really do appreciate your coverage of what I expect to be a very interesting impeachment inquiry hearing beginning today. 3 witnesses planned. Bruce Dubinsky, who is a forensic accountant, he theoretically will connect the dots on these shell corporations and wire transfers. Eileen O'Connor, former assistant attorney general, and in the tax division specifically, and Jonathan Turley, law professor at George Washington University. What are you expecting to see and hear today? What have Republicans said they're going to bring today?
Well, I think you're going to see a lot of emphasis on documentary evidence. Now, there's no doubt that the Hunter Biden laptop was legitimate. It's real. It really was his laptop. He's never actually admitted it. He sued people for taking it while not saying it was really his. Whatever. Yeah. But what Comer has done, the chairman of the Oversight Committee has done, is look into a lot of documents gotten from banks about bank transactions, from either social media or communications companies, in which some of the communications that were found on the laptop were also found in other places, and therefore were not, don't have the taint of Rudy Giuliani or something on them. So the Republicans have worked hard to build a documents case against President Biden, and the bottom line of it is they don't have a document that says $5 million for Joe Biden in return for official actions. I mean, they don't have that, but they're really pointing closer and closer and closer toward Joe Biden being part of a family enterprise that got a lot of foreign money, and then raising the question is, was Joe Biden the only Biden who wasn't getting any money from this family operation?
Yeah.
He was the engine that ran the whole thing. It was all running on Joe Biden's prominence, his place as the Vice President of the United States, his ability to influence policy. I mean, that was the selling point. I think that's beyond dispute. That's what they were selling. And so I think that until they find maybe even more evidence, Republicans are building this very, very strong case that there was an extensive influence peddling operation based on Joe Biden's influence, and all of the Biden, not all, but several Biden family members were involved in it. And Democrats are going to have to keep saying, well, yes, 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 but there's no evidence that Joe Biden himself. And then, someday maybe there will be evidence.
I don't know if that, listen, whether it works in the political confines of impeachment hearing is one thing. But in a court of law, if your entire defense is, well, sure, I helped out in this scheme, but it wasn't to get me rich, it was to get my son and my brother rich, I don't think that works. I think you're still guilty. But
so I think that the Democrats and their allies in the press have really gotten a lot of mileage out of this no evidence argument. And it's been very, very frustrating for the Republicans. They're saying, we're putting it out every day, more and more and more. We're putting it out every day. So this is another effort to just pile this evidence on the table. It's going to stack 4 feet high and make the Democrats say there's no evidence.
Yeah. Byron York. I am better informed as a political observer every day because I subscribe to Byron York's Daily Memo at the Washington Examiner. Shows up right in my inbox, and it's invaluable. Thank you, Byron. Always good to talk to you.
Thank you, folks.
It's 8:15. No, shoot, look at that. It's 8:16. Time for Jamie Whitten in the Hadig Carpet Cleaning Traffic Center. Time gets away
You're
from
late.
me, Jamie. I know. Always.